while. I just want you to know you're on my heart. I said a prayer for you just now this morning. Hope you have a blessed week. Just so they see my face, feel my spirit a little bit. And I feel like I've done better than just send them a text or not doing it at all. And it's one, and the reason was 2 years ago, I read this book called Green Lights, and I'm like, hey, I got to maintain this area. I went and watched a YouTube video of yours. Maybe you're giving like even a college graduation. I don't know what it was.
Oh, that commencement speech, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was that. But anyway, I give you credit for that, but it's just a different level of it is making that video that I do. I do that.
That's cool. That's a great idea. And how easy is it to do?
Right.
You know,
Simple.
and how good it feels to do. And you know how good it feels to land on their eyes on that Monday morning and going, Ed, right on.
That's pretty damn cool. What about why is the word unbelievable a bad word? This is awesome.
It's a silly word.
Unbelievable is a silly word. Why?
Silly. Unbelievable. Geez, we throw that around. We use it. We call awesome things unbelievable. We thought beautiful. We call unbelievable sunset. Wow, so beautiful. Unbelievable run. God, what an athlete. Unbelievable athlete. Wait, they just did it. Unbelievable. We're going to war over there. Unbelievable that earthquake happened. The beautiful and the tragic side, we throw it around loosely. And it's silly because we're removing ourselves from reality. We're living. Unbelievable lets you live in a false extra credit. You don't appreciate the miracles and the beauty of everyday life, and you don't give credit to the evil mankind can possess. It's a fool's word. Nothing is unbelievable. It just happened. And if there's one thing, and when it comes to people, when we use it with people, I was oh man, unbelievable. He stood me up. He stole my cash. And there's one thing you can depend on people being, it's people. And people ain't unbelievable. The things we will do, it's not unbelievable. It just happened. It's a fact. So it's about getting rid of that word and giving more gratitude and testament to the things that we see that are awesome in our lives, the great play, the great success, the great beauty. It's also giving credit and looking in the eye the tragedies of the world and the things that the evil mankind can possess. It's not unbelievable. We better sober up. And in that truth, I think we deal much better. Unbelievable kind of lets us off the hook.
You're right. I never even thought about it that way. I
just don't think the word should be in the dictionary.
Yeah, I stopped using it.
Incredible.
Yeah, I've gone to awesome. To be honest with you, that's my new thing. I've gone to awesome, awesomeness, awesome, because I'm serious. I think language has power. I think it informs your filter of your world, of your life. The other thing, I think if something's unbelievable somebody else did, then it's impossible for me to do it. And I don't want to believe that it's not believable. I want to believe that it's possible.
Right. It just happened. Believe it.
It just happened. I just seen the dude score. He just did that 360 dunk. They just sang that song. Right. It actually happened. It is actually believable. Yeah. No, you're 1,000,000% right. Do you worry? You a worrier?
Do I worry? Do I worry? I think I worry. I know I'm concerned with my future, with my kids' future, with our family's future, with the world's future, with the United States' future. I have concerns, and I try and project, and I try to engineer ways within a household or ways of sharing and speaking with others that I think can be restorative or give a higher percentage of getting the outcome that I think would be the best or the most constructive, the most useful, the most healthy for my family. Then the world happens. Or my plan hits the fan, find out your kids are actually DNAs more than the environment they're in, and you didn't have as much control about who they were as you thought, and they do their own thing. And hopefully, whether it's in the family or whether it's in the world, when things don't go the way we hope they should or would be the most constructive and healthy, hopefully those are stages and they're not fait accompli, that it's not like, oh, That's how it is now. I don't, here's what I don't worry about.
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to it, but I don't worry about death. I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm damn excited about what might happen when it happens.
Wow.
But I don't worry about it. I'm not in a rush I don't work hard to avoid it. I don't go looking for it. I'm not a fool. I'm not looking to get out of here early. Or I'm looking to get out of here on time. I'm also not working my tail off to try and go, I necessarily want more time. I think it would be good for all of us, and not just in the death and eulogy question, but in life every day, is we're told more is quantity, 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 quantity. More years, more money, quantity. It's a vertical ladder. We don't give enough room for defining quality in quality. And if the quantity we're chasing, whether it's years or money, whatever, doesn't give more quality to our lives, then we're using the wrong calculator. And so I am I'd rather live, 60 happy and healthy than 120 not. Or whether that's 80 or 140, whatever that's going to be. So it's a roundabout way of saying I don't. That's one of the things I don't worry about. I do everything I can to stay healthy and alive, and I'm not looking for trouble. But
I think one of the reasons, though, that you don't, and that many do, is that my dad passed away about 2 years now, and I've had some friends recently get ill that are in really difficult positions. And what I have found with most people that are afraid of death or regret things in their life, most regrets are acts of omission, things we didn't try, things we didn't experience, not mistakes we've made. And it's really interesting because so many people have these fears of making a mistake or what they think is a failure. And I think at the end of life, they're afraid of it, most people, because they never really experienced new things, tried difficult things, put pressure on themselves, challenged themselves. And it appears to me that you are living a life where you are, you seem to be kind of interested in the expansion of your being, the expansion of you as a man and what you can understand about yourself and others in life. And you try things, and even this, what you're doing on the 24th, seriously, stepping into this, sharing what was in all these journals you wrote over the years, that you're not going to end up at the end of this life, whenever it is, with a bunch of omitted options or chances you didn't take. You think that's probably part of it?
100%. Look, I don't like failing. Do I have a certain fear of failure? Sure. But I tell you what keeps me up at night. Not knowing, not finding out. That sucks. I can't sleep. That regret. And as much as I don't like failing, I know that I would rather fail and have found out than sit there and stay up at night twitching, going, it was right there. Why didn't I? That makes my molars crunch in my sleep.
Mine are crunching right now, as you said it. Seriously, it's exactly what I was doing.
It's not that. That's a feeling I don't like. And look, we talked about it earlier. We're in a world that's judging us all the time. You may have heard this. You were talking about living in the jumbotron, living like, how's it going to look, or how's it going to feel? You ever hear that study they did that, I don't know, it was 20 years ago, that the highest dopamine was performing the act, getting to the top of the mountain. The second high, then 5 years later, what was a higher dopamine hit was recording, getting proof of the act. And then 5 years after that, it was pressing send to share it, had the highest dopamine hit. Crazy. So we're looking for this approval. And the world today is right there, to be honest, to give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. And we can get falsely exaggerated by the thumbs up from a bunch of strangers, especially with our kids. Their identity can be formed on this thing by a bunch of strangers going, yes, cool, or no, uncool. And that depends on what kind of day they're going to have.
So true.
Oh, so I got a feeling we're gonna get to a spot, or at least we all will be at that spot when we're at the end of our days, look back and go, oh, why did I hesitate at that false veil of Kool-Aid of approval I was looking at? That it was a mirage. That wasn't real. And I placated to it, and I held back because I didn't want the bruise. I didn't want to take the risk because I didn't want to get the thumbs down, so to speak. And I think we're going to see that was a bunch of bullshit.
It was. That's remarkable to hear from somebody who's, let's be real. You're mainly in an industry that is probably the most prolific in terms of what other people think or likes or reviews, or my gosh, like you have been bred in an industry that that's like almost seems like that's the culture of the industry, is that it's very difficult. I heard you say one time that even sometimes in the Hollywood industry, if you mention your faith or something like that, that almost heads drop, like, because that isn't the cultural thought place.
Yeah.
That's really true, huh?
Yeah. You'll get some, not a consensus. More, look, I think privately, you get more, whether they're believers or not.
But when you're doing it publicly, you'll get that kind of, we're going there.
Publicly, you'll get a few, you get a bit of that, like, but then, Jumbotron, third person, not the place or time. I don't want to look happy about that. Actually, let me put my hands in.
Interesting.
You see the projection of, wait, might that be perceived?
Interesting.
And I don't judge someone for that. It's just kind of how it is a little bit.
You said, though, something about you that stays on this. This is flowing perfectly, by the way, so thank you. But there's this quote I read of you said, I'd rather be a good man than a nice guy.
Yes.
And I think it goes to this point to some extent about standing for something. And so elaborate on that, because I think, you know what, when you've not had a lot of results in your life and maybe you lack a little bit of confidence, you just want to blend in and you want to be a nice guy.
Yep.
And you said, no, I'd rather be a good man. What's that mean?
It's a little bit of, I also say in the book, be less impressed, more involved.
Yeah.
Right? Nice guy. Not a bad thing to be. But you are just connecting the safe dots, staying in the lines, kind of wearing whatever hat the party's wearing, being whoever the conversationalist you're with, and kind of being what you think they might want you to be. You're not involved. You're not really involved. You're not having an opinion. You're not saying, no, actually, I disagree, in the face of the masses that might have a different opinion. Just kind of keeping it safe, not being an asshole. You're not destructing the place, but being a nice guy all the time can, what is your identity? You got to have judgment to have identity. And nice guys sometimes don't even have a judgment or discernment. No, I prefer this over this. Nice guys always go, well, whatever, and a good man has to sacrifice some things, has to take some risk and take some responsibilities and follow through on them, and know it may not be popular, but is it popular in his soul at 2 a.m. alone in his bed? And do we have the courage to take that into the daylight, as Emerson says, tomorrow when the bright lights are on and you're in the stadium? Do we have the courage to go, I know that's true, I know this is true. I will follow up on this in the face of adversity. A good man doesn't go looking for trouble. I think a good man, as you said, omits placating to certain temptations that you go, no, that'd just be being either a tyrant, or on the other end of the scale, I'd just be being a nice guy. It's got to, here's what it is. Everything's got to cost us something. Everything does cost us something. And I think a good man, a good woman, will put their ass on the line for the cost. And it's worth more. The credit or the debit, the win or the lose, it's worth more. That currency is worth more. It's sterling. It's not fictional money out there. It's not monopoly money. A nice guy is kind of playing with monopoly money. Okay, didn't really matter. Come see, come saw.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just going to get also be more boring.
It's more boring. And I think it comes, I've just never heard it termed that way. So here's how profound that was for me. My son went off to college. I read your book. My son went off to college. And I said, this was in our house now, just to give you some credit for something. I said to my son, I said, Max, you going off to college, you can give your kids advice. I said, Max, be a good man. Don't be a nice guy. And what that meant in our world was, hey, man, when you're confronted with something where you need to fit in and do something that's against your character and your values and beliefs, you don't need to be a nice guy. You need to be a good man, right? Something comes up, you need to stand up for something that you believe in. Be a good man. Don't be a nice guy, and that's, I think it manifests itself in every single area of life. I think it's a profound thing. Be a good person, right? You can, rather than just a nice person. Have a life of value. And I think where that comes from, this is why I think this event's so important. I think when you decide you're going to just be a nice guy and kind of blend in, you are now living with a false belief that you weren't born to do something great with your life and you're supposed to exist. I think when you start to have this knowing that I'm supposed to do something great with my life, I'm supposed to make a difference, I'm supposed to have something, it doesn't have to be in big, whatever people measure as big ways, big Academy Award, small, you open the door for somebody who needs it. They're both great things in your life, right? And so I think people start to blend in the minute they begin to believe they've got no destiny. They've got nothing to offer. They've got nothing to contribute. And then all of a sudden, that's the disease. The symptom is they become a nice guy. The symptom is they fit in. Don't you think?
Yes, I do. This leads me into something that there's a word that I think's been getting there's a few words that I think been getting a bad rap for a while. And hopefully we'll uncover some of those on the 24th if we don't cover them here today. But one is this ego's been getting a bad rap. We got to have ego. When Amir said earlier, you got to have judgment to have identity. When everything's personal. We got to have an ego, a sense of I, an understanding, a subjective experience in this life. That doesn't mean it's at the exception of a collective experience or the collective good. It's why I believe in the word selfish, that truly selfishness doesn't, that the definition of selfishness is, the true definition, I believe, is not excluding what your neighbor needs, but it is, I believe, if we're truly more selfish, that's how we are and can become more selfless, that it all goes through the vessel of the I before it gets to the we. And those are not a contradiction. The choices that are best for ourselves, that are the most constructive, that will pay us back longer in the future, are usually the choices that are best for the most amount of people. And we make this contradiction, like no ego, kill the ego, I, get rid of it. And no, don't be selfish. Well, isn't everything we do personal? It's got to go through us to go out, to share it.
Yep.
It's got to cost us something.
You're right. Here's how right you are that. Could I just elaborate? My friend Rob Deerdick and I were talking about this. We're saying, hey man, at one point we were talking about how, like, hey man, I don't have any other I'm not addicted to significance anymore. We were both lying to each other. Hey, I have no significance. And over time we kept saying this to each other. And I'm like, is that really true? I have no significance needs in my life anymore. That's a damn lie. Of course I do. I still want significance. I still want validation. I still want to feel good about myself. What has happened is the way in which I gain significance has changed. And to your exact point, no one's ever said that ever in 500 episodes on the show. But my selfish need for significance, I feel most significant when I'm contributing to another person. But it went through the I so that I could help the we. Man, you're right about that.
Is it okay? It is okay for me to say, a large part of what I love about Camilla and I's charity with the Just Keep Living Foundation is how good it makes me feel to receive their thanks. Yes, that's okay. Am I doing it just for that? No, but that goes through me and does help me, make me want to do more and give more opportunity to these young men and women. To say that, no, I can't feel good, that doesn't make me feel good to receive that gratitude would be a lie. Be complete bullshit. And again, where the two reciprocate, I think that's the honey hole. And you just said it. What makes you feel more significant? Doing something for others. Look, I think we got to admit some of this stuff. Like, no one wants to say they're vain. I'm vain. I'm vain. Yeah, I've catch myself looking in the mirror maybe an extra 2 or 3 times. Okay, great. I could argue that it's helped me maybe be in better shape. If there's a group of somebody that maybe I'm attracted to jogging through the park today, I might do a few extra push-ups more than if they're not jogging through the park. Vanity. I don't, and just saying, hey, that's base. Hey, that's okay. But is it feeding something? I wish it could. Look, it would be great to be human and be so pure and unattached and detached that it's all absolutely for pure reasons. I'm not that evolved. I think it's fair to say I don't think most of us are that evolved, and that's okay.
You're right. Here's how right you are. By the way, if you take that to the extreme, it's like a cop-out for not achieving anything and not doing anything. So you can take some of these belief systems that are, there's no ego, there's no significance, I don't want anything for me. And that's the actual reason you're using as it's not true. You just use it as an excuse. Now, you should unpack more of that on the 24th, what you just said. You really should. Because the other thing you said earlier, I want to say one thing you said earlier that was a great nuance. I asked you if you worried, and you said, well, I have concerns. And I think those are different things. Like there's this quote you had where you said, I've had many crises in my life, most of which never actually happened.
Yeah.
To me, that's worry, right? That's debilitating thought. Whereas concern is constructive and productive because you're being proactive almost in creating a solution. Don't you? So I think that would be something to really
I'm not, again, coming off of the heels of thinking that unbelievable shouldn't be in the dictionary. I don't worry because it's like, I'm not going to be, nothing that's going to happen am I going to go unbelievable. So I don't worry. I am concerned more about things that I have some control over. If I don't have control over it, and I say this all the time, it's like, why my friends are like, why are you so relaxed on a plane? I go, because if something happens to the pilot, I'm pretty damn sure I'm not even in the top 10 of the next best person to fly the plane. So I can't do anything about it. So I'm like, it's a net, whatever. I'm relaxed. Now, if I have a pilot's license, I might be a little more concerned and worried when I'm flying a plane. Because I'm like, something goes down here, I might be the next guy up. You know what I mean?
It's so good. It's so freaking good. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Let me ask you this. I wish we had 3 hours, but that's why they're going to get April 24th with you. I've enjoyed this, brother, so freaking much. Because when you're around somebody who lives intentionally, a little bit of a contrarian. Thinker, but there's truth to what they say. It causes you to look at yourself more deeply. And that's really what's happening to me when we've been talking, when I was prepping for this, and what I know will happen to a lot of people on the 24th. But I think if you would allow your ego to speak for a minute in the last question, you've achieved a lot, brother. You've had a lot of good things happen in your life. And There are a lot of people who will come to the 24th or are listening to the show today. There's millions of people that are already sharing this episode all over the place. I can tell you that for sure, because they're like, you need to hear this conversation. And they'd like to achieve whatever their version of their dream is, whether that's they want to be a millionaire, they want a dream relationship, they'd like to own their own home, start their own foundation. You've made a bunch of dreams come true in your life, but it comes at an expense. You said earlier, there's a cost.
Yeah.
Did becoming you, an Academy Award winning actor, everybody knows you, you got some bucks, people are talking about you running for president, right? Like there's not a lot of people are going, maybe he should run for president. Has it been what you thought it would be? And is it all it's cracked up to be? Is it worth it? Or is it just completely different than you thought?
Well, let me answer the second part first. Is it worth it? It's got to be. I mean, it must be. For me to argue it not being worth it would be, I'd be an arrogant fool, because I'm not equipped. Who am I to say worth it? It's like difference between earn and deserve. I don't like the word deserve. Is it worth it? Yeah, it better be. It's not up to me. Now the first question, is it what I expected? It's never. I'm big. You talked about how intentional I am, and I love writing headlines. I could probably count on one hand when I showed up and said, yeah, let's keep the headline the same. Or, yeah, that's the headline of the story I wrote. Headline always changes. It's always different. Been around it. Oh, yeah, I see how those are related. That was the general direction we headed out on. You know, we picked our course, our North Star.